The Last of Us Season 2 wasted no time making major changes to the source material, with Abby's huge character tweak already looking likely to have a critical impact on the story. Having become arguably the franchise's most controversial character during her time in The Last of Us Part 2, Abby's role in the HBO adaptation was bound to split opinions and divide viewers. As a result, the show decided to make Caitlin Dever's version of Abby different from the games in one key way, which could prevent the character from receiving the same backlash she did in the game. Despite her dark actions, The Last of Us Part 2's morally gray story makes it hard to label Abby as a true antagonist, especially given she is one of the game's two playable characters. Understandably, her most memorable act in the entire story led to some fans being unable to forgive her, but she was also the target of unwarranted hatred, which the series will struggle to avoid. Luckily, it looks like HBO is adapting some iconic Abby scenes in TLOU Season 2 while also making some necessary changes, one of which has already been seen in future days. Whereas the video game doesn't truly reveal why Abby wants to kill Joel until deep into the story, The Last of Us Season 2 opens with her plan, presumably to help the audience understand her trauma. In The Last of Us Part 2, Abby alludes to her motivation during her confrontation with Joel, but it's not until getting to play as her around 15 hours or so into the game that viewers fully understand her actions, which came far too late for some. Although many gamers warmed to her eventually, others had spent so long hating her that they simply weren't invested in her backstory and just wanted to take revenge. Considering Part 2 is all about how bloody the cycle of revenge is and the damage it causes, the negative reception clearly wasn't how the creators intended people to feel about Abby. As a result, introducing her trauma earlier in the adaptation feels like a much stronger way to get viewers on her side, and even if they don't think it justifies her violence, it may at least help them understand her. Episode 1 doesn't outright explain how Joel wronged Abby, leaving an element of mystery about her intentions, but it's clear it has something to do with his attack on the hospital during Season 1's finale, giving viewers more to go on than they did in the source material. Part 2 makes her feel like a stranger who simply kills one of the audience's favorite characters for no reason until the latter part of the plot, but Season 2 is already making Abby feel more relatable, which could help alter how show viewers perceive her compared to gamers. Changing the structure of Abby's story could be a genius way to make audiences more sympathetic towards her, given the backlash she received after The Last of Us second game was released. Ultimately, some viewers were always going to feel bitterness and anger regarding Abby no matter how HBO changed the series, but those a little more open-minded may come around to understanding her character more, even if they still feel conflicted. Fortunately, Season 2 has made it instantly clear that Abby's suffering is the reason she's going after Joel, with her pain easy to identify. Even without fully understanding what Joel took from her, fans can see that her trauma has caused a 5-year-long pursuit that won't end until she gets justice. However, considering how controversial Abby's The Last of Us Season 2 story will be, the adaptation must allow viewers to connect to her more than the game did, so that she won't get quite the same backlash. It's fine if fans don't like her based on her actions, the same way some may turn on Ellie or even Joel based on their decisions, but Abby still needs protection. She is undeniably a nuanced character whose anger is understandable, even if it's not entirely justifiable. Therefore, providing the audience with her motivations from the off may help prevent any hatred towards her character from getting ugly like it did when The Last of Us Part 2 was released, making the restructuring of her narrative a smart move. The most obvious impact Abby's changes will have on Season 2 is its overall structure. We have already learned a little bit more about Abby and her group in the first episode of TLOU Season 2 than we did during the early portions of the game, and assuming the show continues as it does, we will likely experience Abby's Seattle story alongside Ellie's rather than afterward. This will make the plot flow a lot more naturally compared to the game, as Part 2 suffers from showing Ellie's journey first followed by Abby's rather than experiencing them simultaneously. Additionally, portraying Abby as an antagonist early on in the show may make her redemption feel more natural, as the game almost never fully leans into the idea that she starts as a villain in the audience's eyes. Acknowledging that she is the main threat early in The Last of Us could help make her feel like the secondary protagonist that she's supposed to be later in the season as we head into Season 3. While her story won't change fundamentally, HBO's tweaks will give audiences much longer to make a fair assessment of her character.